The screen opens with a striking image, a red Interpol warrant stamped across the frame. A paper that has brought fear to presidents, generals, and fugitives around the globe. But here in Africa, something new is happening. Fear is replaced with fire. Silence is replaced with defiance. Brothers and sisters, imagine this. A continent once chained for centuries is told to bow again, not with whips or guns this time, but with a piece of paper. But can paper truly break the spirit of millions who already tore apart the chains of slavery and colonization? Can a red notice erase the courage of a generation that swore never again? Interpol believes it can command Paris, dictate Washington, and intimidate Africa. But today, Africa responds with one voice: we will not bow. Look at the hypocrisy. Those who carved false borders across Africa now talk about international law. Those who stole gold, oil, and uranium now pretend to care about global security. Those who enslaved generations now accuse Africans of being dangerous. But the truth is simple. The danger is not Africa rising. The real danger, for them, is that their empire is collapsing. My friends, this is not only about one leader or one nation. It is about whether Africa will forever remain a mine for foreign companies or finally own her future. So let me ask you, will we let paper chains hold us down, or will we stand together and tear them apart? Stay with me until the end of this video, because what's happening right now could change Africa's future forever. And if you believe truth should be louder than headlines, share this message. Stand with us and let the world know Africa will never bow again. The announcement shook the continent like thunder. Interpol had issued an arrest warrant against a sitting African leader. For outsiders, it looked like a routine law enforcement act. But for Africans, it was clear. This was not justice, it was politics. The warrant was dressed up as neutral, part of an international system that claims to defend order. But millions instantly recognized it for what it was: a weapon from the same toolbox that created slavery, colonization, and endless exploitation. The timing was no accident. Africa is rising. From Burkina Faso to Niger, from Mali to Ghana, leaders and citizens are demanding that gold, uranium, oil, and fertile land serve African children first, not corporations in Paris, Washington, or Brussels. This shift has shaken the empire built on Africa's wealth. And as always, the empire does not respond with fairness or dialogue, but with intimidation. Interpol's red notice became the new chain, made not of iron, but of paper and ink. But Africans remember. Who broke international order? Was it Africans who enslaved millions and shipped them across oceans? Was it Africans who drew false borders with rulers and blood? Was it Africans who bombed countries and toppled governments from the Middle East to Latin America? The answer is obvious, and the hypocrisy is deafening. Yet today, when one African soldier says, "Enough," the machinery of the so-called civilized world moves against him. But the leader at the center of the storm did not flinch. He didn't retreat into silence. He looked straight into the cameras and declared, "Africa will not bow." His words struck deep because they voiced what millions already felt. Interpol is not neutral. It has become the long arm of those who cannot win the battle of ideas, so they hide behind red stamps and signatures. This is not the first time Africa's heroes were branded criminals. Patrice Lumumba was called dangerous until he was assassinated. Thomas Sankara was labeled radical until he was murdered. Nelson Mandela was imprisoned for decades as a terrorist. Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana was toppled for dreaming of unity. The pattern is clear. Every African leader who stood tall for his people was demonized, hunted, or killed. And now, because another leader dares to follow that path, Interpol has added his name to their list. But today's Africa is different, more connected, more aware, more determined. Millions of youth have awakened. Workers, farmers, soldiers, and students see through the lies. They know this is not about one man, but about silencing an entire generation that refuses to kneel. That is why the reaction was not fear, but fury. From Ouagadougou to Bamako to Niamey, people declared, "A piece of paper cannot chain a free people." The warrant backfired the moment it was signed. Instead of isolating its target, it exposed the truth. It showed that the so-called international community is not about justice, but control. It proved that whenever Africans demand their resources, the West will use any weapon, even Interpol. The warrant quickly became more than Interpol itself. It became a spark, spreading across social media, classrooms, marketplaces, and universities. The question arose, if one leader can be punished for defending Africa, who is next? The answer was clear, all of us. This is not about one soldier, one president, or one warrant. This is about Africa's right to exist with dignity, free from foreign dictates. The warrant failed to intimidate. Instead, it became a rallying cry, a badge of honor, proof that paper cannot stop a movement whose time has come. The speech didn't just expose hypocrisy, it grew stronger, like a storm gathering power. "They say I am a danger," the leader declared. "But I ask, a danger to who? Whose law? Whose order?" These questions cut deep, reminding millions that the so-called guardians of justice are the very powers that built their empires on Africa's suffering. Then came the climax. Names were called out boldly. Donald Trump, Emmanuel Macron, the officials of Brussels. Their titles could no longer protect them. They were unmasked, accused not of protecting peace, but of orchestrating exploitation. France, once master of colonies, was told clearly, "France is finished in Africa. Your arrogance is over." To America, the challenge was sharper. You shout about greatness, but was America ever great for Africans? Was it great when millions were enslaved on plantations? Was it great when African gold and oil built your skyscrapers? And to the European Union, you call dictators partners if they obey you, and label patriots criminals if they resist. You are not guardians of morality. You are guardians of hypocrisy. Words that many thought would cause fear instead sparked pride. Across Africa, the response was electric. In Bamako, crowds chanted, "We will not bow." In Niamey, youth painted walls, calling Interpol a tool of empire. In Ouagadougou, market women lifted their voices, "No paper can silence our will." On social media, hashtag spread, hashtag Africa will not bow, hashtag our gold for our children, hashtag Interpol is not neutral. Defiance had turned into a continental chorus. It wasn't only the youth. Farmers in the fields spoke of the insult of being told their land still belonged to outsiders. Workers in the mines remembered decades of toil, while foreigners carried off the wealth. Soldiers murmured at their posts, "This is not just politics, this is dignity." Every part of society saw itself in the struggle. This was no longer the fight of one man. It had become the fight of a people. And as the fire spread, so did the memory of Africa's fallen heroes. Patrice Lumumba, Thomas Sankara, Nelson Mandela, Kwame Nkrumah. Their names were spoken again and again, not as history, but as living comrades in today's fight. To stand accused by Interpol, many now believed, was to stand among giants. What was meant as shame had become honor. Western media quickly tried to twist the story. Headlines whispered of instability, rebellion, and rogue states. But Africans were no longer fooled. They had seen the same script too many times. They knew words like democracy and human rights were often weapons used selectively to cloak greed and virtue. The warrant itself became final proof. When Africa dares to rise, the system brands it criminal. The arrest warrant, meant to intimidate, instead sparked a wave of awareness and unity. Across Africa, from Accra to Addis Ababa, communities woke up. Marketplaces, schools, and town halls buzzed with the same thought. If one leader can be targeted for defending Africa, then all of us are at stake. This piece of paper, intended as a chain, became a mirror, reflecting the truth about the global system. The world saw the hypocrisy. Africans saw their own power. From Dakar to Dar es Salaam, the youth, workers, farmers, and soldiers all joined the chorus of defiance. Social media campaigns, protests, and songs spread the message, Africa will not bow. Our resources belong to us, our children, our future. For the first time in history, the attempt to isolate one leader ended up uniting an entire continent. Ordinary people realized their struggles, their dignity, and their voices mattered more than any foreign decree. The arrest warrant that was meant to silence has instead become a declaration. Africa has awakened. Fear is no longer on our side. Courage is. One man may face threats. One nation may face sanctions. But Africa's spirit, its determination to claim its resources, its dignity, and its future, is unstoppable. This is the moment history will remember. Africa will never bow again. And if you believe in this truth, share it. Let the world see that a free, united, and defiant Africa is rising.